Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be using the zero product property once again. This time, our trinomial or our quadratic equation is in a different form to begin with. So if we take a look here, we have a 2x squared minus 5x equals 88, and it's not in quadratic form. So what we're going to do first is go ahead and put it into our quadratic form by subtracting the 88 from both sides so that we can have an equation that equals 0. So that is our very first step here, is to rewrite this equation or this quadratic equation into its standard form. So we end up with 2x squared. Here the 5x and the 88 are not like terms, so I'm just going to keep writing the minus 5x, and then minus 88 equals 0. So now we have this trinomial with a leading coefficient of 2, meaning this x squared term has a number in front of it that's not 1 and not 0. It is a 2. And we need to be able to factor this trinomial into two binomials in order to use the zero product property, meaning we have two quantities or two factors multiplied together that as a result of 0. So one of the techniques for factoring trinomials that have a leading coefficient of 2 is recalling the FOIL technique. The FOIL technique was how we started off with two quantities or two binomials and multiplied them together, kind of like distributing the terms. And the F in FOIL stands for multiplying the first terms together, so this A times the B here. The outer is the A times the D. The I for inner is the C times the B, and the last is the C times the D. So doing this foiling or the FOIL technique creates a trinomial once you multiply it all out. And in our case, we're going to focus in on this outer and the inner right here, because that outer and inner term results in our middle term here. Let me put another color here. It results in giving us this middle term. So whatever we multiplied for the outer and multiplied for the inner, they combine to form this middle term right here. So the technique or the strategy is we got to come up with all the different factors of negative 88 and all the different factors of 2 that combine together that will give us this minus 5. So it's an extensive list. So I'm going to pause it and then the list will appear. Okay, so here's the list of all the different factors that will give us negative 88 right here. Like I said, it was an extensive kind of thing. This is where you have to kind of use some number sense. Number sense meaning that, like I said we want to get this negative 5 right here. So when we have a lot of factors to go through, we want to kind of think about, well, 5 is a pretty small number, and with 1 and 88, that's a really big gap in between the two factors. So we probably want to focus on numbers that are a little closer in value to one another, like their absolute values are a little closer to one another. So these are quite large. So I don't want to focus in when they have really big gaps. So the ones that appeal to me most will probably be somewhere in this range right here, because these are a little closer together in value to give us this smaller number. So that's where I'm going to start. So that's a strategy that you can use, is because we want to get this middle term of negative 5. And if we add these together, that's going to be what, 86 or 87, some big number, and we want a small number. So let's go ahead and focus in here. So how do we do that? Well, we need to do all the different combinations of these factors with the combinations of this factor and see if we get a negative 5. So here, let's go through this list together. So we can either have 1 times, let's say -8. Let's color code it. 1 times -8. And I want to combine that with 2 times +11 times +11 and see what does that come out to be. So if I work that out right there, what does that equal? That ends up equaling -8 plus -22, which doesn't give me that. It gives me a -30. So I don't want -30. So that one did not work. So that was this first one right here. We tried this one. So let's go to the next one. We can go negative, or I'm going to go through, pause it and go through all of them and see until we get to -5. Okay, so here I tried these combinations right here. The first one came out with a 14, the next one came out with 5, and then finally I came out with that -5, which I'm looking for. So the factors that worked together, the combination of factors, was multiplying 1 times 11 and multiplying 2 times -8 so that I can get this -5. So now that I know how or what factors need to go together, I'm going to substitute this into our FOIL strategy. Okay, so we already know that the first term, or here, the first term has to be an x and a 2x. So that's good to go. And we're going to focus in on the outer and inner, like I had up here earlier. We're looking at the outer and inner terms. So that means this term and this term right here. So the outer and inner that we're multiplying. So I wanted this 1 to multiply times 11. So that means my 11 would have to go over here, and it's a +11. It will go in this second binomial. And I wanted the 2 to multiply times -8. So that means the -8 will go into this first binomial to multiply. So this will give us this combination of multiplying 1 times 11 to give us a +11, and the 2 times the -8 to give us a -16, which we will combine to be -5, this middle term that we wanted, that -5 right there. So let's go ahead and so now that we have that, we can now finally, after all that work, apply the zero product property by separating these two binomials into two equations that equal 0. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have x minus 8 equals 0 and 2x plus 11 equals 0. So we can solve these equations independently. Here we're going to solve for x by adding 8 to both sides, which is nice and simple. We get x equals 8 as one of our solutions. And on this side we have a two-stepper, so we're going to subtract 11 from both sides, 11, and give us a 2x equals -11, and then divide both sides by 2, and we get x is equal to -11 halves. Okay, so this trinomial 2x squared, or if we go all the way to the beginning, we first rewrote it so that our trinomial can be equal to 0. Then we had to factor it all out into two binomials using our unfoiling method, or the FOIL method in reverse, to get our two, so that we could separate it into our two equations, and then we solved it. And these are our two values of x. So now it's your turn to try. So here are some examples. Okay, so this is the part that you pause the video and you go through all the steps of solving each of these quadratic equations using the zero product property. So go ahead, work that out. Pause the video now. Okay, so you should have gotten these three answers, or these answers right here. If you got them, great. You're doing awesome. You understand how to do this. If not, uh, check your steps, see if you did them correctly, and hopefully you'll find where you made your mistakes and you're able to get the right answer the next time. So good luck and bye.